Europe famously has two engines, Germany and France. They drive the European economy forward. They also determine Europe's politics. But right now, both engines are stalled. France has a minority government, and Germany's government has just been ousted. So we'll begin with Berlin. Chancellor Olaf Scholz himself triggered this collapse. His coalition broke down last month. Scholz wanted to increase public spending, but his alliance partner disagreed. So what did the Chancellor do? He requested a confidence vote himself. It's a bit of a quirk in German politics. The Chancellor themselves must call for the confidence vote. Only then can the parliament be dissolved. So Olaf Scholz called for the vote. He did not expect to survive it, but he called it anyway because he wanted snap elections. He wants to seek a fresh mandate. The question is, will he get it? Let's look at the opinion polls. Scholz's party is at number 3. They are projected to get 17% of the votes. At number 2 is Alternative for Germany, which is a far-right political party. And at number 1 is the Christian Democratic Union of Germany, which is the party of Angela Merkel. They are expected to get 31% of the vote. The election is slated for February next year, February 2025. As things stand, Olaf Scholz is on his way out. The German media is calling it a kamikaze move, basically a suicidal political decision to call for the confidence vote. Very similar to what Emmanuel Macron did in France. There were elections to the European Parliament this year. Macron's party was completely thrashed in that election. And who won? The right-wing National Rally. They won the European Parliament elections. So Macron took a massive gamble. He called for snap elections to strengthen his position in France. Much like Scholz, he wanted a fresh mandate. But what he got was a hung parliament. Macron took 2 months to appoint a consensus prime minister. His name was Michel Barnier, and he lasted all of 90 days. So last week, President Macron appointed another prime minister. It tells you how weak he is at the moment. Polls show that a majority of French people want President Macron to resign. And this is the state of Europe's twin engines. Germany's government is on its way out, and France's government could follow any day. This is bad news for 2 reasons. Number 1, Germany and France are key to Europe's economy. They make up 41% of the region's GDP. And number 2, leadership issues. Germany and France take all the big calls in Europe. They're the face of European diplomacy, which is why turmoil in Paris and Berlin is worrying for Brussels, especially with Donald Trump looming. Trump is famously not a fan of Europe or NATO. In his first term, Europe managed to weather that storm, largely because of stable leadership. Macron was the shiny new centrist darling, and Angela Merkel was leading Germany, a seasoned and mature politician. This time, Trump will deal with a European churn. Macron will be a lot weaker, and Germany will likely have a new chancellor. So who can European nations look up to? Many believe it could be Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. She was recently ranked the most powerful person in Europe. No nuclear weapons, no economic miracle, yet Meloni beat the likes of Scholz and Macron. How is that? For starters, her domestic position is quite strong. Her party has done well in recent elections. That is one reason. And secondly, she's close to Trump and his advisors, especially Elon Musk. Many expect her to be the bridge between Brussels and Washington. It tells you how European dynamics are changing, and these political changes are not happening in a vacuum. They are a symptom of economic worries. France's budget deficit is increasing. It was 5.5% last year. It's 6.1% this year. Overall debt is 112% of the national GDP. France is projected to grow by just 0.8% next year. For comparison, the United States is expected to grow by 2.5%. Germany is probably worse off. Their GDP is expected to contract by 0.1% this year. And next year it could grow by 0.7%. Now, to be fair, most of Europe is struggling. But when the big two struggle, the impact is bigger. The question is this a temporary glitch in Brussels, or is it a sign of things to come? Because the Franco-German partnership defined the rise of Europe after the Second World War. They dominated Brussels for more than half a century. But will political and economic weakness end that reign? As they say, only time will tell.